Hello and welcome to another This is the Music Meets podcast. For this episode, we are joined by singer-songwriter Jay Tennant, who has just released his new single, Polka, to fan acclaim, and this was also recently a This is the Music Song of the Day on its release. Jay, thanks very much for coming on today. How are you doing?
I'm good, thanks, Mark. Big thanks for having me on your podcast. Really appreciate it. How are you doing? You right?
Yeah, not too bad. Had an interesting 24 hours or so, but yeah, everything seems to be back to normal now. So thanks very much for coming on. Really looking forward to it. So obviously, as we said there, Polka is your brand new single, and it's got a real funk vibe going on. Obviously, a little bit different from some of your previous songs. So why did you decide to change things up with this particular song?
Yeah, so that's a good summary of it, I think. I think basically, so as you know, I've kind of been releasing a string of singles like over the last nearly a year now, I suppose, which are going to be off my new album, which will be out next year, I think. But yeah, basically, so the songs have been going down well with people, I think, and Spectre in particular seemed to go down really well with people. That seemed like a big hit with everyone. And then I followed that up with Sparks, which I thought was another strong sort of indie rock tune. But I think I don't know if it was because restrictions were sort of coming off a bit and people were out and about a bit more. It got a bit of a quieter response generally. So it kind of made me think, okay, like maybe I've done a number of sort of rock tracks like now over the months. Maybe it is time to do something different, and had like show something else, And I've had that tune for a while, like in the bag, really. So it was always going to be on the album, and I was always going to put it out as a single. It was just a matter of when, really. But I thought it's the summer, end of the summer kind of thing. It's a good time to do it, and hopefully people will love it. And yeah, it's had a great response, I think, so far. It's kind of about a week in now, and people that seem to be like going for it. So happy with that. Yeah.
Great stuff. So was because obviously I follow you on your social media, and you're obviously quite an active presence on there. And obviously you've been keeping everyone updated with that. You've been writing songs in your lunchtime and stuff like that. So was Polka one of them tracks, or are we still to hear them ones? Or
yeah, so you're going to be like still to hear the new ones, I think. Yeah, been quite sort of productive, creative over the last 2 or 3 months. So yeah, there's a batch of tunes that are kind of there. But I've kind of amassed like quite a lot of tunes sort of over the last sort of couple of years. So I think I'm just kind of taking my time about which ones I record, and then it can always come back to the other ones later. But yeah, that was no, Polka was one that I'd had some time, really. So not a new one as such, but obviously sounds quite new and fresh to people who've kind of been following me of late. So yeah,
it's you know how much I love the song anyway from the moment I first heard it, and it is very refreshing actually just to hear an artist actually prepared to try and, I guess in a way, almost like move out of your comfort zone in a way with going on to like a different genre of music. And obviously, as you've quite rightly said there, I think the reaction to it's been really good, and full credit to you, man. I think it's a fantastic song, and I hope that it keeps getting the likes and people really digging it. You know.
Thank you. No, I appreciate that, and yeah, thanks for your review of it as well. Really appreciate that. Like, it means a lot when people like yourself take the time to do that, and give like genuine feedback. So no, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Not a problem at all. So I believe you played with a Away Day Radio on Sunday, which I understand was that your first gig back, obviously after COVID and everything. So how did it feel to be back on stage after all this time?
Yeah, you're right. First gig back in some time, really. It's probably been, a couple of years or so, and it was amazing to just be back on stage, have a mic in your hands, and kind of, yeah. I had a guitarist with me, which was great, so I could kind of do my front man thing and sort of stroll about a bit, and yeah, it was great. It was a real buzz actually. It had been a while, and it felt like it had been a while. And it was a really well put together gig by Away Day Radio. Like they got this great lineup to support the institutes who were headlining, and they were playing their album in full, which is out soon, I think. And yeah, great set of acts like on the night, and I loved it really. Yeah, so yeah, that was a proper buzz and great to be back. Yeah.
Yeah. So you've also got a support slot coming up with Shader in November at the Grey Lantern in Birmingham. Will that be a full band gig, or are you going to be doing sort of like an acoustic set type thing?
No, so I took the Away Day Radio gig, like knowing that I probably was going to have to do it acoustically, because the summer's been pretty busy for one reason or another, and I kind of had it in mind. It probably was going to be acoustic, but the Shader gig is going to be full band. So I'm really looking forward to being able to kind of do the songs justice. For me, like, I mean, I write them all on acoustic guitar, so in a way that was great to do that on Sunday night, because they always say, a good song's a good song, and it should sound good on acoustic if it's a decent song, and hopefully, I like to think that the songs do hold up still. So that it was good to do them that way. But I'm really looking forward to having that full band behind me and doing the songs as you hear them when you play them on Spotify or wherever. Because when I write them, although I write them on acoustic, I've always got that full band sound in my head, really.
Right.
So I'm always thinking, what are the drums going to be doing, synth parts and riffs, lead guitar bits and whatnot. So it's going to be great to have for the Shader gig. Yeah, really looking forward.
Lovely, and I'm sure that you'll go down really well with their audience as well. I think Shader, and obviously we know they're a good band, and they seem to be
definitely
flying at the moment as well. So
absolutely, yeah.
Have you got any more gigs planned for the rest of 2021?
Not currently, but if I get offered something, then I'll definitely consider it. Because like it starts September, so there's still 3 months to go. So I could probably fit another one in there. That's somewhere. But not currently. That's the only one so far. And then I've got one in March, which I'm really excited about, which is organised by the Listen Up guys.
Oh, yeah.
Do a podcast as well and whatnot. And that's in Manchester, and it's Arcade State headlining that one for coming down from Glasgow. They had a gig the other night where it seemed like they kind of tore the roof off, sort of thing. That's going to be amazing. I think they're bringing a load of people down from Glasgow as well for that one, and I love what they do. So that's going to be great. And the Shop Window as well are on the bill as well, who I love, and I bought their album earlier in the summer, and it's a great record, and I can't wait to hear those guys live as well. So I think it's a great bill, and I think it'd be quite a busy one, and I already know of quite a few people who are going. So really looking forward to that one. Yeah, that's in March. So.
Oh, lovely. I wholeheartedly agree with your comments there about both Arcade State and the Shop Window. My interactions with both bands seem to be, they seem like top lads, and they're
very much so.
Released, and the album that you mentioned for them from Shop Window as well was fantastic. So, what was the first ever gig that you went to?
As a fan?
As a fan, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's going back a bit, showing my age. So yeah, that was a really big gig for me, actually, personally. So when I was about 16, I think, this band just appeared out of nowhere, and it was like the Britpop scene was kind of, going on and whatnot. And it's a band from Macclesfield called Marion, and there was something about their sound that like really struck a chord with me. It was quite sort of post-punky sort of sound, like quite fast, energetic songs, but with a real sort of anthemic quality to it as well. So I went to see them in Wolverhampton at the Wolfram Hall, and it's amazing. Like first gig, and I think your first gig's always special, you know, for everyone really. And yeah, they were amazing. Like just on fire that night, and everything sounded amazing. So that really kind of like stayed with me, I think. And it's probably even now it's kind of like an inspiration to me, like remembering that gig and like the power of the songs and like the passion and whatnot. So yeah, that was a big gig for me. Yeah. How about you? What was your first one?
Similar to you in that it's always stuck a chord in my head. My first one was to see Oasis at Wembley Stadium in 2000.
Wow.
Luckily for me, it was the night that Liam was on Good Behaviour, not the infamous second night. So I was very lucky. So
oh, you can't get much bigger than that. So yeah, fair play to that.
So you're headlining the gig, and you're allowed to select 3 either solo artists or bands. We'll say from the new music scene, as that's what we're sort of both promoting. So, who do you think would you ask to come along and support you without putting you on the spot too much?
Okay, no, great question. And like, I mean, it's a tough one because, as you know, there's so many like great bands and solo artists around, like at the moment in that sort of new music scene. So it's definitely a tough one. I'm gonna kick off by saying I'm gonna choose the Shed Project, who I know you're familiar with. Saw your interview with Roy the other week. Great guy, and I love their sound and I love what they're doing at the moment because you know they're kind of organically growing the band, you know, off under their own steam without any sort of outside help and whatnot. And it's all about the tunes as well, you know, just great anthemic tunes, good time tunes that are going to sound great on a Friday, Saturday night. So yeah, I'm going to pick the Shed Project, definitely. I think they would be amazing, yeah. And it'd be a pleasure to do a gig with them. Me and Roy have chatted a bit, and we'll do that at some point. I think it's on the card, so that'd be amazing, yeah.
Oh, that'd be great. Would there be anybody else that you'd ask to come along and support, or?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'll pick 3 acts. Yeah. So next up, I'm going to choose Sam Lambert, who I think you spoke to last week as well. Yeah. I'm not picking him for that reason, but he's a great interview, by the way. But no, he's a great guy, really supportive of everyone, like in the new music scene. Again, great songs, really talented, and just like a lovely guy as well. So definitely put Sam on the bill. And then I'm going to choose Senses as well, who are like kind of local to me, and well, like 3/4 of the band, I think. One of them, but again, like great guys, really supportive of everyone else, like really sort of genuine, down to earth. And I love their music. So again, you know, that would be a great addition to the bill for me. And yeah, I met Callan the other night at the Institute's gig. Really nice guy. And yeah, I mean, I think with those 3 acts, what a bill for me, like personally. You know, love to see all those guys live. So yeah.
That's a great lineup, and I'm sure if that was to happen, I think you'd get a lot of people, and you'd easily sell out the venue comfortably. So that's a great lineup. So you've obviously released 4 songs, I believe, now in 2021. Each one has obviously been very well received. What would you say is your personal favourite?
Of those 4 songs?
Yeah.
So just trying to think what they are. Yeah. So I think I'll probably choose Spectre, I think, because again, it was one I'd had a while, and I really had no idea how that one was going to sort of go down with people, and it really surprised me that like it's been the most popular one, I think, by some way. So, and it's great to sing live. Actually, I think I really enjoyed doing that one on Sunday night. So I think yeah, it's a bit of a tune that came out of nowhere really, and it's kind of surprised me. And I'll choose that one, I think. But I'm kind of proud of all of them, so it's quite tough to choose in a way. But yeah,
Yeah,
Spectre it is.
yeah, I can imagine that it is difficult really just to go off just one particular song.
Yeah, definitely.
So, which is probably make this next question a little bit difficult for you to answer, maybe based on that answer. So, um,
Right.
for those that don't know, you've got a highly impressive back catalogue stretching back to 2016, and you also got a couple of albums in there. 2018's From the Far Field and 2019's Escape Routes. From each album, can you tell us which song is your favourite?
Okay. Yeah, that tough question. So from the far field. So yeah, as you know, that was a kind of World War II sort of concept record. Really, that was the kind of zone I was in when I was writing for that one. Favorite song? Wow. I think I'll choose Modern Heroes because that album kind of came about. I had three tunes to start with, and they were Modern Heroes, Animals, and Berlin, which kind of almost finished the record really. And yeah, I like when I had those three tunes, I thought, okay, I'm on to something in terms of the sound that I want to do here. And I developed it into that full album. But Modern Heroes was the first one that I'd written, and I put it out as a single, I think, like way back. And not many people heard it really, and probably still haven't. But yeah, it was one that I was like quite proud of writing. I think I hadn't really done a song like that before, and I think it's got something in terms of like the story and the way it builds and stuff. And I think in the studio we kind of really nailed it on that one. So I'll choose Modern Heroes for that album. Yeah. From Escape Routes, I think I'll choose The Stranger, which again, I think like that was an early one that I wrote, and then like after I'd written that, I felt like okay, the rest of the album's got to kind of match up to this now. Like I felt like it was one of my better tunes, and I think like again, it's because it was a while back. Not that many people have heard it probably, and like the streams are pretty low on it. But I know people who have heard it really love it. So it's definitely one I'm proud of, I think, and like I wrote the lead riffs on that and stuff, and kind of shaped it and whatnot. So it's one that I'm sort of personally proud of. So I'll go for The Stranger. Yeah.
So, as I say, for anyone that hasn't heard even not just the two albums, but obviously the other sort of the mini EPs and single releases that you've done, the stuff on there is brilliant, and it does deserve to be heard. And the two albums are brilliant records, and as I say,
Thank you.
they definitely need to be heard. So people that are listening to this, once you've listened, get onto Spotify or buy it on iTunes and support Jay's music. So I understand.
Thanks.
That's okay. So I understand that you are a Spurs supporter. How do you think they've handled the Harry Kane situation? And what would be considered to be a good season this year?
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, I am a Spurs fan for my sins. I'm a little bit more sort of distant from it these days, not quite as wrapped up in it all, but I do still follow them. I think they've been quite clever the way they've handled that actually, because I think they kind of let it sort of rumble on for a while, and kind of let sort of Kane do his the moves that he made or whatever, like whether he did sort of skip training or not. I'm not sure if it's sort of fully known. I don't know, but I think Spurs were quite clever about that, and any bid that might have come in and whatnot. They seem to play it quite coolly, knowing that he's still got 3 years on his contract, and I think in the end, maybe there was like a gentleman's agreement between him and the chairman, and he's sort of gone back on that. But the contract is kind of what drives it, I suppose. So I think they played it well, and he's ended up staying, and they get another season out of him, and he's obviously going to score goals. So yeah, I think they've played that quite coolly, quite well. And what would a good season look like? So I think it started quite well by the sounds of it. So that's promising. Um, I think with Spurs, like you always feel they're a couple of players short. You know, the chairman always leaves them a couple of players short from properly competing, from winning that cup or that piece of silverware, or definitely challenging for the title or whatever. There always seems to be a couple of players down. So, and I think that's probably the case again. But hopefully Nuno can work a bit of magic and the players get behind him. And I think a good season would be top four, and if they can win a cup as well, then amazing. But it's been a long time, so I think Spurs fans by now you don't expect it by any means. So we'll see what happens.
So going back to the music now, so what are your all-time 3 favorite albums?
Oh, what a question. Yeah, that's a tough one. So I'm gonna go for Exile on Main Street as my first choice, which is an album I've like loved for some time, and been listening to again more recently. And yeah, I just think I remember a housemate like recommended it to me like years back and was like, put this on late at night after you've had a whiskey or something, and it'll proper make sense. And I was kind of like, oh, okay, I didn't quite sure wasn't sure what he meant, and it was one of those records where like it did take me a little bit of time to sort of get into it, but I think it was right. I think like if you do listen to it sort of late in the evening or whatnot, it really sort of hits home like more in a way. And but I just think like what a record, the way it's hangs together, and like the whole backstory to it, it's just phenomenal, and yeah, just what a great bunch of songs. So that's going to be my first choice. Second choice, it might be a bit controversial, I don't know. They're a bit of a Marmite band, I think, with a lot of people, but I'm thinking about what I grew up with, and records that are important to me. And I grew up with U2, so for me, like Acting Baby was like, it sort of hit me at the right time, just as I was sort of getting interested in music. And it was a proper gateway album into then into the Britpop scene that followed a couple of years later and whatnot. And kind of really set the tone for me, like in terms of guitar music, I think. So that's a really important record to me, and I think it's a rare album in that it's one of those where like every track is really strong, like for me, and hangs together really well as like a full album. And they've reinvented themselves as well, so I think like with the tour as well, like the Zoo TV tour, that was a massively influential tour. Like no one had sort of done anything like that, and yeah, I think that was a really key record for me. And then, God, third choice, I think I'm going to go for the Bunnymen, Echo and the Bunnymen, Heaven Up Here, which is probably my favourite Bunnymen album. A lot of people say Ocean Rain, but Heaven Up Here was the one that, for me, again, a bit like Exile, like initially I was kind of like, oh, what's this? I couldn't quite get my head around it. And then like when it kind of hooks you, you just like totally get into that record. And again, I think that was the Bunnymen kind of really sort of flexing what they could do as a band, which then sort of led on to Ocean Rain and whatnot, what have you. And I just think it's a really strong record, like really good songs, and it's a bit overlooked, I think. But for me, it's a classic album, and you've got that iconic cover art as well on the beach in Wales. And yeah, just one of those records that means a lot to me, I think. Yeah.
There's three fantastic choices there, and I don't think there'll be too many people will be disagreeing with them choices either. I think they're three fantastic records. So if you could invite 3 musicians to join you for a drink, who would you invite?
Wow, what a question. Yeah, that's a tough one. Okay, I'm going to start with Jagger. I think, what a guy, and like what a history of music and stories that he'd have to tell, no doubt. So let's have Jagger down there. I think straight off. Who else? God. So I'm gonna say Ashcroft. I think Richard Ashcroft. Again, and like he and Mick would get on great, I'm sure. But yeah, again, like what a music career he's had, and he's still going strong, and all those classic songs and what have you. And I'm sure he's got a lot of stories to tell as well about the Verve and what have you. So let's put Richard Ashcroft in there. Third choice. God. Okay, do you know what? I'm gonna say Noel Gallagher, because again, like I know he divides opinion a little bit, and you've kind of got the Liam camp and the Noel camp these days, it seems. But I've always liked Noel as like an interviewee, and like I think he's interesting and he's funny, and he tries to be controversial at times, I think, and maybe probably still does that a little bit for effect. But he's like really switched on, I think, and a funny guy, charismatic. So yeah, Noel Gallagher is at the table. There you go.
That would be, I'm sure that would be a great night out as well, with the 4 of you.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
I think there's three fantastic choices in there. So what would be your go-to karaoke song?
Oh wow. Okay. So I've not actually done a lot of karaoke in my time.
Yeah,
Might
yeah,
be a
nor have I,
surprise. I
for
don't know.
obvious reasons.
Yeah. But I think you've got to go for a bit of a crowd pleaser for me. So I'm going to go for The Clash and Rock the Casbah, because such an upbeat tune, proper sort of feel good tune, great song. So I think that will be my choice. Yeah,
Great, fantastic song.
get the place going.
Yeah, definitely. So, is there? If you had a musical time machine and you could go back and watch any gig anywhere, where would you go?
Wow. Um, God, you've got to look at Woodstock, haven't you? I think, and just kind of the talent there, and the occasion, and the historic sort of significance of that. So yeah, that would definitely be up there as a choice. Um, or like one of the classic Doors gigs. That would be phenomenal as well. To see them in their prime. Um, yeah, so I guess like one of those choices really. If that makes sense.
It is, yeah, no, it's difficult to choose just one really, to be honest with you, but and obviously there's probably loads that are screaming out in your head as you're going in, going, no, choose that one, but it's
Yeah,
it's
that's right. Like Joy Division, or the Cure, or the Clash. The Jam. There's a lot I could choose there, just to throw a few names out. But yeah, I'll go for Woodstock or the Doors. Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. So, you said at the beginning, earlier on in the podcast there, that you believe your new album's probably going to be out next year. So, will there be any more sort of like new music before then, or like for the rest of this year at all? Or
Yeah. So yeah, I'm kind of taking my time over getting the album sort of finished. It is almost there now, but and like there's definitely a couple of big tunes that no one's heard yet. So I'm looking forward to sort of putting those out. So yeah, I think the album's going to be out next year. But as you know, I kind of like to keep the songs flowing a bit every couple of months, just to kind of sort of stay in people's heads a bit, I suppose. But also because I'm trying to sort of record quite regularly as well. So I just like to keep it flowing for myself anyway. But yeah, I would say there's definitely going to be at least one more single out this year. and I'll make sure it's a big one. Probably kind of October time, I reckon, ahead of that Shader gig in November. So look out for that. Yeah, it'll be a big tune.
Fantastic, and I'm sure that I can definitely, speaking on behalf of other people here a little bit, but I'm sure that everyone will be really excited to hear when that song actually, when you announce the details of that, and obviously eventually when it is in our ears, so to speak.
Oh, thank you.
That's not a problem at all, my friend. Unfortunately, that is the end of the podcast.
Okay.
Jay, I thank you very much for coming on and having a chat to me. I've really enjoyed it. And getting to know you a little bit more and the recording process. And I can't wait to see what's in store for you next and that, especially with the Shader gig coming up as well. And I wish you all the best of luck with that and the album as well when that is finally available for us all to have a little listen to.
Thank you.
If you don't already, then give Jay a follow on his Twitter, Instagram, and Spotify accounts. And as we mentioned earlier, he has got a couple of albums already on there, and I highly recommend that you do give them a listen. Thanks everyone for tuning in to today's episode. I'd be forever grateful if you could like, retweet, subscribe, and comment on the podcast. But more importantly, give Jay's music a listen. Jay, I will see you somewhere down the road, my friend. Thank you very much once again for coming on.
Thank you, Mark. Really appreciate it. Thanks for your time. Nice one.